Hi guys, I wanted to show you the double stitch, or what I usually refer to as like a tight stitch. It's the 1/2 stitch, and what I have on my loom right now is the chunky braid stitch, which is a 3/1. If you'd like to learn how to do this stitch, just click the video link right up here above and it'll take you to it. But again, we're going to show you the tight stitch. I've talked about this video a lot in different products stitch a lot, sorry, and products I've done, and I did have a video where I grouped a bunch of stitches together, but I want to take the time to talk about them a little more separately. Now again, I'm using a worsted weight yarn, level 4, just a normal red heart yarn, to show you using my nifty knitter loom here. This is the yellow one. I forget how many pegs are on it, but as you know, the gauge is kind of big in between, so that's why I wanted to show you some of the different stitches that could help you get away with one strand on a loom that has a bigger gauge. So now for the tight stitch, or again, like I said, the double stitch that's supposed to be called, you're just going to be wrapping because you want to take one loop over 2 loops, and that's the best way to think about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap our pegs so that we end up having 3 loops on it. This one, and again, our end pegs will be done at separate times, so this gives us 2 on each. Oops, I missed one over here from my last stitch. Let me get that out of the way. I don't want that to interfere. And the reason I'm doing this stitch right after the chunky is so you can actually visually see the difference between this stitch and the one I'm doing next. Now we have 2 strands on, or 2 loops on there, but again, we need there to be 3 so that we can take the bottom loop over the top 2. So when we come back over, and a lot of times if you're new to these stitches, just go ahead and work them like 1 peg at a time. That's probably the best thing for you to do if you're not used to doing certain stitches. So now this what we'll do later because it's only got 2. Moving on to this peg, we have 3, so let's take the bottom loop and we're going to take it up and over the top 2 loops. Okay, so again, you're going to loosely wrap, and keep in mind you want your loops on here to be enough wiggle room for you to be able to move them over. If you start really wrapping the pegs too tight, it's going to affect you later on for knitting over. So again, this one has 3, so we're just going to go down and grab the last one and bring it over. And you can do like 2 at a time as you want. As you get more comfortable doing the stitches, just go ahead and wrap more at once if you want to. So again, we have 3 loops on here. Let's go ahead and we're going to take the bottom loop over the top 2. Okay, move over to the next, the bottom one over the top 2. And what this does is the middle ones, as you can see, already have 2 on it. So that means after I wrap this one, I can go right back to doing the same process again. I'm not ready to do my ends ones because they only have 2, unless you choose to do a different stitch on the ends. And again, we're just taking the bottom loop over the top 2. Bottom over the top 2. And like I said, once you do this one time around, you can pretty much keep going with it. And I apologize for the blurriness. And this will produce a nice tight stitch. And again, I'll be able to compare it to the other one to show you. And as we get this way, we notice we have 2 loops now, but now we have 3, so we can go ahead and knit the bottom over the top 2. And as you work right back, you're going to be able to do the same thing when you get to this one. So I'm going to go ahead and keep working this down so that you can see the difference between this stitch and the chunky one I had on my loom before. So we worked the tighter stitch, again the double stitch down a little bit further, and this is what it gives you right here, right above my finger. So as you can see, it produces a nice tighter stitch. And if you're wondering, the difference between this, which I call like a tight stitch, and what I call a chunky stitch is this. This is your chunky stitch that I said I had a video for. Again, I can put the link again up there of the chunky stitch that we were doing. And this is your tighter stitch, your double stitch. And as you can see, using 1 strand, you could almost get away with it for a project, but you can still see through some parts of it. But it still would work for like a scarf or a hat, depending on the loom you're using. Again, if you're using a smaller gauge loom, again, the gauge is the space between, then just be careful again of how you wrap your pegs so that you can get the loop over, and it would obviously look a little different depending on the loom you use and the yarn you use.